Hello and welcome everyone to the first ever CDAP podcast. Let's introduce ourselves. I'm Adagon1, Sputnik.
I'm Sputnik. I'm Sputnik. Yeah.
I'm Spooky.
Hello and welcome. My name is Typical Name, and I have a very typical name.
And I am Luxweaver, the silent itinerant.
All right. So we got everybody here. So the purpose of this here little podcast is to bring you news. Like good news, like activist news.
Well, not really good news, but
The
Well, yeah,
non-bourgeoisie
perspective
news.
on the news.
it's gonna be a
Like
lot.
good as in quality, not as in feelings. Bad things happen a lot.
Yeah, that tends to be a trend.
Like the fact that we still have countries. Like that's a bad thing. Anyway, so our first news bit is going to be coming from the extremely stable and paradise on earth country known as Honduras, where nothing ever goes wrong. Basically, what happened recently is that there's this environmental activist named Lesbia Yanif Urquia, who was an environmental activist and a supporter of the Council of Popular and Indigenous Organizations of Honduras. So, environmental activist, indigenous rights activist, it looks like as well. And let's see, it looks like her brother-in-law hired two assassins and they killed her with a machete.
It's also very, well, like what should be pointed out is that the thing they were protesting against was the building of a hydroelectric power plant on indigenous land.
Yep.
So it's not like the government didn't have any reason to interfere.
Well, that wasn't a good reason.
Like
Was
clearly,
the steely reason?
clearly this dude had a motive to do so. And it was, I'm willing to bet that he was off by somebody because this just sort of seems like one of those situations where some shady, ubiquitous, institution is working behind the scenes here because, like, most people won't kill somebody because they're trying to keep a dam from being built.
Well, no, the reason the state is given is because it was, where was it? It was to the over inheritance.
Oh, really?
Well, that's what they're saying, but
All right, I must have missed that.
again, that's the alleged motive.
Hmm.
But I think the fact that the brother-in-law participated in the funeral, and did quite a lot in the funeral. So it's either bullshit or the guy is really fucked up in the head.
Yeah, like you gotta be messed up to hire people to kill someone in the first place.
Yeah, well,
So do we know the identities of the killers?
Yes, we do. Let's see. One of them was Jose Adan Rivera Perez, and he has an underage brother who cannot be named. And the guy who orchestrated it was Manuel Orlando Lopez Ortiz. So, yeah.
Who's he?
he's the brother-in-law of the environmental activist.
Hmm.
Whether or not this is actually related to her activism is unknown.
Yeah, it doesn't win, but it's, I don't know, it just feels a bit off. But but maybe I'm just being too suspicious.
So haven't a lot of activists died in Honduras?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there was one died in March time, I believe.
Yeah. Let's see. Berta Cáceres.
Yeah, he was linked to the same organization and was shot in March.
Yeah. So this is pretty tragic. I think it's just a pretty good reminder to everybody that doing good work is doing good work will make other people upset, you know. So you gotta stay vigilant and like watch your back, you know, because something like this could happen, especially if you're in Honduras.
And we lost Lux.
Yeah, seems like his internet gave out.
The
Lux is
podcast must go
gone.
on.
Alright. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh wait, he's typing something in the chat. Hold up. Probably an explanation. In the meantime, y'all want to switch over to hate living in a cornfield. All right.
Yeah, cornfields
Shout
don't
out
have
to all
very
the
good
people
internet.
living in cornfields.
Yes, indeed.
You're all just jealous of my potatoes.
I
He
haven't
lives
had
in
a
a
potato in
potato.
ages. I'm gonna like make a potato
Like,
after this. I'm not gonna make a potato, but I'm gonna do something with a potato. You know what I mean?
like, our
Make the
do you
potato.
like make a battery out of a potato.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, cool stuff.
Next article.
Anyway, let's see. Let's switch over to the article on Venezuela. Now, I haven't done as much reading into this, so does anyone else want to facilitate this one?
I know a little bit about Venezuela, not terribly much. From what other news relating to Venezuela, I've heard that they have found like the hordes of food and supplies that the rich were storing up, right?
Yeah, well, so essentially what happened is that due to rising oil prices and the economy was lowering oil prices. Yeah, the most of Venezuela's economy was built on the oil industry, and while Chavez had been doing a bit to move away from it, it obviously enough wasn't done, and the economy is going through hyperinflation, I believe. But anyway, so a lot of the companies were stocking up like basic essentials, this sort of thing, and there was a lot of uncovered stuff, and they were starting to close down factories and stuff. So there was more unemployment, right? And well, Maduro's in the style of the normal politician says, "Fuck it, let's take over the factories."
See, although the Venezuela's economy had some other problems from what I understand, not to condemn the government too much, but there were some policies they had that were harmful. Like from what I understood, they subsidized imports in such a way that they were basically giving away dollars to the bourgeois so that they could import products so then either hoard them or sell them at marked up prices. The way the government arranged the economy made it possible for the bourgeois to screw over the government in the way they did. And now the bourgeois, being the bourgeois, took every advantage of that opportunity. That's why they were able to jack up the price of toilet paper and pretend that there were shortages while stuffing warehouses full of it. That from what I understand, they were planning to release in the event that the Maduro government was overthrown.
But yeah, I think another thing is that the cause of it was because they focused a bit too much on the oil. Like there was some attempts by Chavez, and I don't think Maduro did as much, but to sort of diversify the economy. But it was still very heavily reliant.
Right, but I think the big thing was what the government made itself vulnerable to the bourgeois. Frankly, they should have seized the means of production and all that, you know. But
this should have been done long before.
It's like I guess this just kind of goes to show that you can't really achieve socialism by pushing through social democratic reforms. Like, oh yeah, you made the people much less poor and all. Well, and the country's a better place to live. For those of you who think that Venezuela is a shitty place now, you look at it before the Chavez government. Things were bad back then. And the whole people starving in the streets, the thing was much less of a thing after Chavez's reforms. But the thing is, the reforms will get undone as soon as the bourgeois is powerful enough to make that happen. And you need to basically destroy the class that brings about such the reaction.
That's the problem with what he's doing here, because or what he was, I suppose. Because in my opinion, there's no point of calling yourself socialist unless you have direct ownership of the factories and workplaces.
Precisely, yes.
And in this case, he was basically operating like a social democrat, because there was no, or at least in the later part of his control over the country, there were no workers Soviets or any other form of what's the word, self-management, and this is what happens. You have this really weird system of governance where there's the state institution is present in the economy in such a way that makes it even though it's still there, it's also vulnerable to outside influence, like you said, at the same time. It's a very interesting contradiction in how it exists. And I think that the way you could have solved this early on was by enforcing the will of, I wouldn't say the will, but enforcing the existence of workers' self-management. That's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah. Of course, the difficulty there is that if he actually did, just okay, we're gonna take all the bourgeois property and hand it over to the workers, great. Then the U.S. is probably gonna say, oh no, they're violating people's freedoms, and can come down there with the Marines. And so really, this also ties into imperialism, because the United States would love to overthrow the Venezuelan regime, Venezuelan government, and to whichever you want to call it, as it is. As if they actually went through with relieving the bourgeois of their property, I think that would probably be as much of a pretext as the Americans need to invade.
Mm-hmm. That's the problem.
Yep.
Well, yeah, there was a coup attempt in the early 2000s against Chavez.
Oh yeah, they did try to stage a coup against Chavez, and so somewhere in the 2000s. I thought it was earlier than 2010, but I'm not entirely sure.
Early 2000s.
Yeah, but Chavez has regained power pretty quickly, because he had the support of the people. People like Chavez, even the people who don't like Maduro. Most of them liked Chavez.
Let's see. 2002 was the coup attempt.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Wasn't it? But yeah. Yeah, no, I still suspect that there could soon be an attempted coup or overthrow of the Maduro government.
Wouldn't surprise me a bit.
It's looking that way. But it'll be interesting nonetheless to see developments in Venezuela.
Yeah. Is that pretty much everything we have to say on that?
Yeah. Unless, is there anything else anyone else wants to add?
I think we're good. What time are we at?
4:38.
We're 20 minutes in?
We are 14 in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We might have to find more material for next time.
Well, we could just pull something out of our ass real quick.
So
Let's see.
capitalism, that's pretty shit.
So, yeah. Uh, how do you guys feel about capitalism?
Envy.
Well, it's better than feudalism. I'll give it that. Not much more.
True.
It's gonna become feudalism eventually if we keep letting it keep going. But feudalism was really suck, you know.
Remember, guys, anarcho-capitalism is actually anarchy. You are free under it. It is in no way related to feudalism.
I know, right?
Public power in private hands does not always mean feudalism. It means you have the right to rise and fall by your own merits.
It's
Some people actually
essentially a meritocracy.
That was sarcasm, by the way.
But yeah, I think there's always so much we can shit on ANCAPs before it gets boring.
Well, there are anarcho-monarchists.
Yes, I linked that article.
Also anarcho-fascists. What's your point?
True. Ugh. Well, I think we might as well be done here.
Oh, really? We don't have anything else to talk about?
Y'all want to talk about like anything in American news? Like, was anyone here at the Socialism 2016 convention? I think it was
No.
it was like Fallon, Chicago, and Ziggy. And I don't think they're here.
Oh.
No.
What about the RNC?
No. I've heard about it though. Like I've heard it was some pretty scary stuff.
That's a good word to describe it. It's very scary.
One
Yeah,
girl
how
did
much-
a Nazi salute, and then these two guys just spoke about like their time in Iraq for half an hour. And I can't show it, but there's this picture of a bunch of white people holding signs that say Latinos para-Trump, and it's just the whole thing was horrible. Ooh.
I'm not gonna lie, I had to look up what the RNC stood for. So
Republican National Convention.
Yeah.
Fucking Irish.
It's like where the worst of humanity congregates every 4 years. Now,
I thought that was that was like a fascist convention or something.
it is basically.
Okay.
Now, I knew that the new Black Panthers organization was going to do an armed march there, but all of the reports about it are like before it. I haven't seen anything afterwards, so I assumed that it went, that everything went well. Yeah, but I can't find any like articles that say like what happened after the fact.
Yeah, I I don't know how much money did they give to the police and military gear before this?
Oh, that's
Like,
another thing. They're reintroducing military equipment for the police nationwide.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that.
Now we can. Now they're allowed to like pull out tanks on us and stuff. Does this mean that does this mean they're getting scared of us, or is this a good thing or a bad thing?
It's definitely a bad thing. Trust me, when the police have tanks, it is never a good thing.
I mean, it's not like they would have hesitated to use them illegally before. If hypothetically there actually were a revolution, they would just send in the army's tanks rather than the police's tanks. But I do think it definitely has some sort of kind of symbolic impact. Like what we've had, like what was it? 5 police in Dallas and 2 police in Baton Rouge die, and all of a sudden there's this outpouring of sympathy for.
Here's another thing, because like everyone's putting their flags at like half staff. Then, well,
Yeah.
like what about the 600 plus people who have died from cops like this year alone? You know, like come on.
Because they don't matter. Because they don't have authority.
Exactly.
Precisely, yes.
Like one of the cops who died in Dallas was a white nationalist.
Yeah.
You know, like come on.
It seems kind of disturbing that you can basically pick out 5 cops at random, and at least one of them will be an outspoken white supremacist.
Exactly.
And by the way, didn't the FBI have some sort of report a while back, like on white supremacist infiltration of the police corps?
2006.
Yeah, they know that this is a problem with the police.
And keep in mind, '06 was like a few years. '06 was when the police was first getting all that surplus equipment that was generated for Iraq and Afghanistan. Because like the way it works is that whenever we go to war, the military-industrial complex has to generate a lot of new equipment, and the surplus of that equipment goes to police departments. So, there's a reason why so many politicians are eager to go to war. There's, I mean, first of all, it gives their corporate sponsors more influence in the area that they're screwing over, but it'll also provide more domestic security, if you want to call it that.
Right, and it'll also divert the public's attention, and like people think of these people we're invading as enemies rather than focusing on more relevant enemies, like the class structure. And it's had an effect. Like I know, like back at the university, I knew at least one very outspoken liberal type person, and who was perfectly okay with voting in and George W. Bush for a second term on the grounds that that is supposedly morally wrong to vote against someone during wartime.
Exactly.
Like just fucked up stuff like that. So like. For some reason, even if the war is the president's fault, it increases his support. Like people don't like to think about how to improve society or how to make the world better while they're in combat.
Exactly. And if you look through history, like a lot of presidents are former war heroes. Like Washington was a war guy. So was Grant and Eisenhower. Like there's sort of this reverence that our culture carries for people.
To be fair, Washington was a pretty shit general.
I'm sorry?
To be fair, Washington wasn't a great general. Like, he did a lot of stupid stuff.
Well, yeah, you're right. But like, yeah, what I'm saying is that our culture sort of carries a reverence for people who serve in the military, as if they're like above us or something. And like they say that we should be thankful for them protecting our country. Well, by country, they're not actually protecting you, they're protecting the institution that is the country. They're protecting the government by going overseas and fighting for their corporate sponsors and whatnot.
I'm not big on American history, but remind me again, when was the last time America was actually invaded?
Invaded?
Invaded. I want to say the War of 1812. I'm not sure if that's right.
Well, let's see. If you count, like, I think 1812 might be it. Well, you could count World War II because, like, I think the Japanese, like, I think there were like a few islands or something that they managed to get from us, and then we took it back. I don't know.
Surely
But,
the
like,
Mexicans gained a little ground in the Mexican War?
no,
Yeah,
like,
no, they just got destroyed.
yeah,
Oh.
like,
Yeah.
like that was a blatant example of imperialism. If nothing else.
Oh yeah, fun fact about the Mexican-American War. I actually know the war before that, or actually the Texas Independence War that I believe came before the Mexican-American War. Like Texas pretty much only existed to promote slavery. Like from what I understand, they used to be part of Mexico. Then they rebelled against Mexico because Mexico was like wanting to abolish slavery or restrict slavery in some way, and they didn't like that. And so they basically made up a country with a goal of joining the U.S. That's from what I understand.
Well,
Texas was never a really independent government.
From what I remember, it was U.S. colonists who colonized their parts to make it more, because the Mexicans couldn't really take care of it. Because it was like out the outer rims of America, and then, or Texas, Mexico. And
yeah, that
then there was, I think the government tried to centralize. slaves into a federation, and Texas didn't like this, and they rebelled. I think. Again, I'm not big on American history.
That would explain the recent Texas epidemic. That's like never gonna get off the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, just remember the Alamo was as a symbol of defending slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck the Alamo.
All right. So is that everything we have to talk about today?
You guys want to talk about anything else?
Nope.
Nope.
I'm good.
All right, Adagon.
All right, so we're stopping.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey.